Welcome to Gumball Love. I'm Melissa Ledger, professional relationship coach, creator of Gumball Love and the Back to You Academy. If you're ready to stop the cycle of toxic men, get through the breakup once and for all, and finally get back to you, you are in the right place. This journey is about healing your heart, and you are encouraged to take the pace that is just right for you. In the process, you will build a foundation of confidence and strength that will make you unshakable, I promise. So get ready to level up your mindset and your lifestyle as you awaken the seeds of greatness just waiting to burst into full bloom. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. All right, today is going to be a little impromptu because I'm reading this book. It's called The Me That I Want to Be, Becoming God's Best Version of You. And I was thinking about how a lot of times our pursuit for spirituality or becoming closer to God is sort of like how our pursuit of romance is, in that we feel like we have to do it in a certain way. And this is what this book is all about. Like if you've ever been turned off by going to church, for example, he talks about how everybody doesn't experience God the same way. So some person can go to church and read the Bible every day. I know people that go to church every day and that really makes them feel close to God. But another person could do that exact same thing and feel completely bored and disconnected from God. And so this book is really liberating in how some people they feel close to God and how they express themselves, maybe artistically, or maybe it is through music, through connecting to art or being outdoors. And so it's been really interesting to think of it this way. And as I was reading this, I don't know about you, but my religion is Christianity. And sometimes I have felt like I don't want to go to church, or it's just like I go there and I don't feel connected, yet I will feel connected another way, but then I'll feel guilty for not doing it. Similarly, you guys know last year I felt completely disconnected from online dating. And by no means am I comparing finding a guy to connecting with God, but I'm trying to draw this parallel that we feel like we have to do this in a certain way. Like some of us really love and enjoy online dating apps. It's fun. You connect with people, you go on dates, you have a great time. And I have been there before where it has been really fun, but I got to a point where doing that sucked the life out of me. And then people would say, but Melissa, you're never going to meet, how are you going to meet somebody? And then it was also, again, there's more pressure to, you need to be doing this a certain way. There's all these people that say, hey, you got to meet somebody. When are you going to meet somebody? How are you doing? How's dating life? Do you have any plans this weekend? Any hot dates? Pressure, 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 pressure. It's a constant forcing you into a mold that society has accepted as the right path. And so then we feel discouraged. We feel like losers. We feel like we're not doing it right. And then the whole reason that I'm talking to you right now, and I just kind of had this aha moment, and I literally just turned on the microphone. I have no notes, so usually I have some kind of an outline of notes, but I wanted to tell you that the reason I'm sitting here today is because I have all these books, and I had all these books, and I went to all these different methods, and some of them may work for some people. So like each book that I would read, like He's Just Not That Into You, or Why Men Love Bitches, or Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, they all have good ideas. I don't really think there's anyone that's completely just, that's conspiring against us. But in each of them, they feel as if this path is the way. And when I was reading this, I was like, man, no wonder why the academy and the process that I've created with Gumball Love is the opposite of that. It is allowing you, like when we work together, we customize. If you don't want to be on online dating, I'm going to tell you to not do it. I'm going to tell you to, a lot of the process is, I'm going to tell you to like take your foot off the gas for a second, maybe even get out of the car. Let's look around. Like, where are we going? What are we doing? Why are we doing this right now? Do you want to do this? Is this even where you want to go? You know what I mean? Like, so, and even if we're in a relationship, sometimes we're in the relationship because we think that people, society, they expect us to be in the relationship. They expect to see those posts on Instagram. Some people will say like, hey, haven't heard from blah, blah, blah. What's going on with that? Because they're sitting there tapping their foot, expecting. And so there's pressure. It's funny. I was just literally about to turn on the microphone, and in my inbox came an email from Kelly Lynn Adams, my good friend and business and life coach. And the beginning of her email says, stop pushing, controlling, forcing, manipulating your business, your opportunities, your weight, your image, your success. She said, for years, that was exactly what I was doing in every part of my relationships, finance, businesses, career, and health, pushing to make it happen according to my timeline, my defined goals, my ideal vision. So it's funny how, like, isn't it amazing how when you get into a mindset, all of a sudden everything seems to collaborate with that, and you get emails and you see book titles, and all of a sudden you're synced up to that kind of thought process in that way. And so I wanted to jump on here and just give you a sense of liberation from wherever you are. If you are in a relationship that you don't want to be in, I just coached somebody yesterday, day before yesterday, Friday and Sunday. I always do these usually on Sunday to post on Monday. And she was like, am I being too picky? And long story short, she was like, wasn't enjoying being around the guy anymore. And they really, he would try to make plans with her, and she was kind of like, I don't really want to hang out with you anymore. But he was really great on paper, and he was a nice guy. But she just wasn't feeling the connection. Yet there was a pressure to feel forced because he was great on paper. Well, he wasn't like a gumball guy. He wasn't like those other guys. So, it's like, maybe I should stay. If you're on my email list, you have read a story when I was in Nebraska and could have gotten engaged instead of moving here. Because if I would have gotten engaged, he had children, there would have been no way I could have moved to New York. I mean, his ex-wife was back in Nebraska. I mean, there's just, you can't do that to children. I wasn't going to be able to I remember thinking, what if I paid for her to relocate to New York? This is what I was thinking, like, what if I got rich enough where I could say, hey, I'm going to pay for you to move too. It's like so crazy. Like in my heart, I knew that I was supposed to come here. But I felt pressure to stay in that situation because on paper it looked good, and I would have been able to be married, check that box off, and inherit his beautiful children, check that box off. I would have been able to be a stepmom and have the house, check that box off, have the ring, have the wedding, check. But for who? We're adding so much pressure on ourselves from people we don't even like. We don't even hang out with them. Most of the people you're really trying to please are the ones you don't even hang out with. Or they have titles like mom and dad, aunt, uncle, brother, sister. They're family members that are like, come on, when are you going to get married? When are you going to get that job? When are you going to get to school? When are you going to graduate? When are you going to do this? And a lot of times people put that pressure on us because they are afraid. Like, let me just tell you, I was coaching another girl. I took 4 sessions on Friday. My coaching is getting really booked, which is such an amazing feeling. Like, I love coaching you one-on-one. And I was coaching a girl whose mother is just always putting that pressure on her and asking her what she's doing. Actually, it was two of the girls that I coached on Friday that both of their mothers were putting that pressure. Where are you going? Do you have any exciting plans on Saturday? And immediately it's like, oh, there's that feeling of failure. There's that feeling of, no, she was like, both of them like, no, I'm actually going to do, something around the house or something different. Like it wasn't where, one of them said, if I'm really honest with myself, I don't even want to be doing that right now, but I feel as if I should. And so I'm going to wrestle this book around. So pardon the background noise here, but I was thinking as I was reading this book, I was just thinking of it from my spiritual journey and connecting with God, because I also had not felt very connected with going to church physically, but I remember thinking, man, I have my way that I communicate with God. I'll sit down and I'll journal. I will read. Sometimes, like, I like to have a book that accompanies my journal. I will read the Bible, but I'm not somebody that's going to sit down and read 10 chapters of the Bible. I will read, and I'll take what they call a concordance, and I'll pick certain words or things that I'm struggling with and find scripture that correlates with that. And then I'll read that scripture, and man, that really will fill me up. But then the guilt will come in. Man, I really should have read this whole chapter though. Who's that talking? And he gave really good examples of how a lot of people in the Bible, like God chose so many different people in the Bible and did totally different things and gave them completely different missions that didn't look like the other one at all. And so we are not supposed to be the same. You're not supposed to find the guy that you marry like your best friend did, or like the people you went to high school with, or like anyone you're looking at on Instagram. This is what I tell my girls, that, they'll end up meeting a guy and I'll tell them, see, look at, and this is what I'll tell you. If you coach with me and you meet your guy, you will watch me do something where this just happened with a girl who I coached through our academy, and she's getting close to engagement. And she chatted with me once after the academy, and we chat through Instagram, but I don't manage or even give her advice within that relationship. In fact, my advice might sound like, what does he say? You need to talk to him. This is between you and him. I'm not going to be a third party. If there's not a problem, and this is just, and a lot of times it's not really problems. It's just when someone has dated gumball guys, they feel like they're not familiar with the normal, right? And so a lot of times my guidance is, you need to go to him. You guys need to talk about this together. You need to work it out, because you are on each other's team now. So he's your go-to, and you have to keep this communication open and authentic and honest, because the second we start hiding from our significant other, or we're not disclosing how we're feeling, and we start to feel shameful or afraid to speak up, that's when immediately the intimacy will start to get interrupted. So I want us to feel the purpose of the feeling I want you to walk away from this podcast with is that there is no one way to meet the person that you're supposed to meet. There isn't a structure. Like people would say, I just had this conversation with my last client on Friday. Where are the good guys? And I told her, it's like saying, where are all the girls that I could be a best friend with? I mean, where are like the really quality women hanging out? I mean, we might say like, well, quality people, you can, like, should I go to, even if I said, well, are you going to church? You could meet quality people there, but I've gone to church and I've had some significant arguments with people that I've met at church over ridiculous stuff. But, I've had conflict at church before. You get into it about certain things. You get passionate about certain things. And so I didn't find all my best friends at church. I found some people I liked and some people I didn't. So I could go to the gym. I can go to church. I can go to a place where I can go to a homeless shelter and volunteer And I'm still going to meet a-holes everywhere, right? They're going to be everywhere. So there's not one spot where all the good guys are hanging out, even in churches, because churches are like hospitals. We go to church because we all are imperfect, right? We're all striving to be better. So just because we're out of church doesn't mean all of a sudden, just miracle us into being this incredibly amazing, flawless person. So I want you to get the idea out of your head that the right guy is hanging out at certain spots, and that the right method is to do it this way. If you're reading, especially if you're reading relationship advice, that's one dude telling you how it goes, and this is the path, and you have to do it in this way. That way might, if it does not oh yeah, okay, this really resonates with me. That person might have a message for you, but if I read it, it's yeah, I can't do that. So, but even within that specific advice, there's going to be certain things that resonate, and then some things you're going to reject a little bit. And I can't get into obviously all those specifics because I'm giving you hypotheticals, and I'm hesitating a little bit because there are some really good men, some really good male relationship experts out there that are giving some great content, like Stephen Speaks and Mark Groves, for example. I really just enjoy the authenticity, the realness, because I feel like they are guiding, they're going through it, and they're also being so authentic and real. And it's not about getting a guy to be attracted to you. And here's how, I just cringe when I see send this text and he will be addicted to you. It's that's manipulation, and that's exhausting. It's exhausting to try to do something to get somebody to react in a specific way. There's no freedom in that. You're actually just putting yourself in another jail cell. So I wanted to give you just a few snippets from this book and just apply it differently. So the book, again, is by John Ortberg, and it's called The Me I Want to Be, Becoming God's Best Version. So if you subscribe to the idea that God created you, he says that God creates masterpieces. He doesn't mass produce, which is really kind of cool when you think about it. We are all unique beings. There are no copies of you anywhere. Even an identical twin is still not a copy. Have you ever met identical twins and they're completely different people? And you think it's sort of weird to watch the other twin because it's they might sound alike and they look the same. But even if you're around an identical twin, you start to notice, and then you start to tell them apart easily. Where other people are how can you tell them apart? They look exactly the same. But then you start to notice so many differences. And before you know it, you don't even see the twin anymore because you've identified the true identity of each individual. So you are a masterpiece, and you are supposed to experience this life differently than I'm supposed to experience this life. He gave some examples this is actually from another guy. He referenced Gary Thomas, who wrote that we have sacred pathways. One is a naturalist that finds God in nature. One is a traditionalist that loves historical liturgies. One's an activist that comes alive spiritually in a great cause. One's a caregiver that meets God in serving. One's a sensate, senses God through the five senses. One's an enthusiast, loves to grow through people. One's contemplative, loves to draw into solitary and reflection and prayer. One's an intellectual and loves God by learning. So we can get closer to God in a lot of different ways, right? And so what I'm saying is the pathway to, even in life in general, I just want us to liberate ourselves and say, like, we serve a big God, right? Where he wants us, we're all like, look how different we all are, right? In the same way, if we're all so different, then we're going to be paired with another masterpiece, right? So one masterpiece meets another masterpiece. Okay, so let's just picture, like, if you've ever gone to an art museum, like I'm picturing like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, if you've gone to the Louvre, there's masterpieces, artwork that's like a Monet. That's one of my favorite is Monet. So, but if I put a Monet next to a Manet, which, by the way, did you know they were friends? Monet and Manet were friends. And they were rivals because their names were so similar. And then Manet ended up using Monet's wife in his work. So it's interesting. Monet's wife must have been quite the hottie because she was a star in both of their art pieces of art. But they're both masterpieces. They can have similarity, but they're completely different. Two masterpieces together. So if I were to talk to Monet and Manet, and I put those two paintings next to each other, they're going to be completely different. The conversations that those two artists would be cool, right? It would be cool to listen to. What did they talk about? How did they get over their grievances and then start to collaborate and even use the same woman in their paintings? But do you think it would be the same conversation with Monet versus, let's say, I'm going to pick something really random, like a singer of today, like Carrie Underwood. Would Monet and Carrie Underwood, what kind of a conversation would that look like? You know, it's not the same as a Monet and a Manet, right? It's like those two, that conversation is going to be wildly different. But I know this is sounding weird, but what I'm trying to get you to picture is like, Melissa, what? Carrie Underwood, a country western singer versus an impressionist art, these two impressionist artists. It's like, yeah, it seems kind of weird for those two to even be connecting, for those two to even have a conversation. However, that's how weird it is to think that we can put a structure around connecting artists, because you know what? Maybe they would have an amazing conversation because they both create art. They just create different kind. One creates music, another creates paintings. So you might discover that they could really communicate well. You might also discover they come from two different periods of time and they're wired totally different. So I can't tell one artist and I can't tell two artists to go down the same path because they're wired differently. So I can't tell you to find a guy in the same way that in fact, every time I coach a client, and I just kind of realized this, I realized that when I book a session with someone, I never know what I'm going to say. Because this is why when I'm talking to you on Instagram, sometimes it's like, let's get together one-on-one. And then people are like, no, I don't know if I want to actually talk to you one-on-one. But I'm trying to talk to you one-on-one because I can't see enough to know, it's like, who am I talking to? I need to see the masterpiece and look at it and go, oh, this is who she is. This is what she's going for. And then I can customize my response because I have all of these different volumes of information and research that I've put together. But if you imagine that I have an encyclopedia behind me and I might pick the letter S versus the letter V for you, because I go, oh, this is where she's going. This is what she's dealing with. So I'm going to customize. Some people, I would say, take a break from online dating. And I realized too, some people I say to journal, and he was saying how a lot of people hate journaling. It's just really not the way that they process their thoughts. So I may suggest that later. If you already do it, I may continue to suggest that you do it. But for other people, it doesn't work that way. So also in meeting somebody, I want you to just kind of like keep these thoughts in your mind. Like, am I sitting there trying to, let's say, I'm trying to think of like the opposite. It's hard to think of like the opposite of an artist because I'm starting to see by reading this book that everybody is a masterpiece, right? But if I took somebody that, say, is a intellectual, and then I put them, here's a perfect example. I see that one's a caregiver and one's an intellectual. So one comes alive with really caring for others, okay? And the other one is going to have all these deep thoughts. Well, those two probably will be annoying to each other, right? Because they're wired to do completely different things. So I'm trying to think of like one of my grandmothers was just she was a very good kid, my mother's mother. You went over there and she would you always had a comfy bed with clean sheets and fresh towels, and like her bathroom was always immaculate. Her home was so clean. If you woke up in her house and she wasn't going to be there, there was always a bowl with the cereal put out. She would put everything out that wasn't refrigerated. So you had to almost do no work. Like you just had to get the milk out of the refrigerator and pour it over your cereal. And she would put the little glass for your juice, and she would set the table, and everything was done so well. But she was not the kind of woman that I could have sat down with and said, let's really contemplate why we're here on earth. Her answers were very simplistic. It was like, she didn't overthink. I shouldn't say overthink. She wasn't somebody who was going to sit there and think and then have to verbalize all of her thoughts. And so I didn't do that with her. A lot of times I just sat with her, and she would scratch her back for like forever. You could sit next to grandma and lay your head in her lap, and she would play with your hair and scratch your back, and you would watch TV. And a lot of the time I spent with her was quiet, but I was still connecting with her as if we were speaking, right? And sometimes I wish I could have known this back then, because the other side of me would be like, I never really talked to grandma. I never really, she doesn't really know me very well. When in fact, it just wasn't her way. The way that I communicate is I actually create in the moment. I'm best at creating live. So for some people, live is the opposite. They need to prepare. But for me, I was just sitting on the couch drinking my coffee, and I thought, my dogs are asleep. I'm just going to turn on the microphone and explain that I feel so liberated right now in this moment that, my God is Jesus. That's who I pray to. That's who I talk to. And in a lot of ways, I was carrying guilt because I felt like I wasn't doing it in a certain way. Sometimes I would carry guilt because I have family members that met their guy and had their kids in what appears to be the correct timeline. And for me, it didn't happen that way. So I would think I would attach failure to that. And then all of a sudden, this sense of urgency comes because it didn't happen in the right time, didn't happen in the right way. But they are a masterpiece, and so am I. So are you. And so if you look at the ingredients that's in you, it wasn't supposed to happen that way. It was supposed to happen exactly how it is. And now that you have this information, it's almost like, okay, you can look at it and go, so what is my pathway through this? Like, who am I? How did God make you? What did he make you to do? Do you feel like a caregiver? Like one of my clients on Friday, we had both lost dogs. And she said, I lost my dog, and a week later I had another dog. And I did the exact same thing. And I was just sitting there listening to her, and she said, I missed taking care of something. I missed all the stuff. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I had said that exact same thing when I lost Emma. I had 2 dogs and I had one, then I had none. And no dog for a week was like weird. I couldn't stand it. I was like, there's a dog bed, there's dog toys, there's dog dishes, there's leashes, there's medicine for dogs, there's vitamins for dogs, there's food, and then the act of trimming their faces and walking them and giving them a bath and cuddling them and playing with a toy and playing fetch and going for a walk. A dog adds a lot of stuff. And it was the mothering of them that I love to do. So when it was gone, I didn't want to spend my time healing. I wanted to mother, So Charlie was, in a lot of ways, filling that need for me to mother, to care, to give. So I can see in this list that caregiver is definitely one of my ways. He calls it a sacred pathway. And I really feel like this work is me caregiving for you. And I believe this is why I love the academy. I love the one-on-one sessions. And, I'm actually going to say to my girls, I'm going to say this to you, if you're in my academy or you're working with me one-on-one, a lot of times girls will say, I'm so sorry. Or if we run over on time, they feel bad. And I realize you feel bad because you think that I'm not enjoying my time, or that I'm annoyed, or that I'm frustrated, or that I'm tired of talking to you. And I don't get that way with my clients. In fact, I almost run over on every single one because sometimes I just need to see it to completion. I need to finish the conversation. So if we book an hour and it takes an extra 15 minutes, that's what I feel like I need to do. I'm not ready to just cut it. I might get to that point when I have back to back to back to back. It's getting busier for sure. But if I have the time, I'm going to finish the conversation with you because I enjoy it so much. But we're so used to questioning, is this, okay, this isn't right. I better cut this off, or she's probably irritated, or I need to go. And I want you to ask yourself, like, okay, is this my pathway? Is this what did God create you to do? What feels really natural for you? Like I told you, online dating is like, I hate the feeling of it. I don't want to look at the photos. I don't want to do that. I don't want to write the profile. I reject all of it. And so people might say, oh my gosh, you're not going to meet somebody. And to that I go, okay, because I also don't want to be in some rush to meet somebody. I cannot rush the timeline, which is kind of what I was going to make this podcast about, was rushing the timeline. But because a lot of us have so much pressure on ourselves to be doing this in a certain timeline. But can you imagine if someone told Monet, you have to hurry up and do this water lilies? Okay, you need to hurry, come on. People are waiting for this. Can you imagine? Like when you go to Giverny, or I haven't been there, I act like I've been there, but when you go to like online, or you can see photos of where Monet lived, and you can tour it now. It's I'm totally going to tour it at some point, sooner than later. And oh my gosh, the gardens are so beautiful. He basically just painted at home. And the lushness of the gardens, the little bridges, the trees, the flowers. It's insane. And you know what actually got completely destroyed? And then somebody came in and rebuilt it and replanted and made it all back to new again. It's a really cool story. But if you think about, like, he created an environment where he could really use his gift. And it's so peaceful, and it allowed him to flourish. It allowed him to make his art that's enjoyed 100 years later. So are you giving yourself that freedom? Take the pressure off. You know what I mean? Like, we are so mean to ourselves. We have so much just stress. And I'm telling you, I'm in this mindset because I realized, I was talking to Natanya, who preps my food. She's an amazing chef. I'm very lucky to have her in my life because I struggle with prepping my own food, knowing what to eat, and she's like a total health nut. But we were talking, she was like, you start doing something, like I start down eating this path and then I get discouraged. She's like, you're stopping. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of been the theme of my life where I don't ever stop completely. I am consistent in a lot of areas, but then I'm also kind of consistently inconsistent where I've noticed like I'll go for a while and then I'll stop, and then I'll go for a while and I'll stop and I'll get discouraged. And she helped me see I had too many things on my plate that I was trying to do all at once. And so I am in a period of quieting down. Like if you followed me, I was waking up at 5 a.m. and doing the 5 a.m. group. And then I was preparing for dance competitions and going to dance lessons 3 and 4 times a week, and then building the academy, and then working at night, and then even going to the gym on top of the dance lessons, and, then doing my coaching sessions, and also having a full-time job during the day, and then taking care of a dog. And it was like all these things were firing off notifications. And so I realized at this point, I had to cut out certain things. So now I am only doing my full-time job. I am only working on Gumball Love. I only dance once a week on Saturdays. And I'm incorporating a gym schedule that is much more, I do want to say relaxed, because even at the gym, I was just overdoing it, trying to take all the classes, trying to do, so I've pushed back my dance competition to March because I was trying to force it into November, and I'm just not ready. And I don't even feel good about competing in November because I need to develop more skill. And so it's like I was forcing all this stuff and I couldn't do it all. And then when I wasn't able to do it all, I was feeling bad about it. And then I would get tired, and then I would get discouraged, and then I'd make myself feel guilty because I wasn't performing. So now it's like I'm slowing down. I'm not even slowing down to speed up. I'm slowing down so that I can create a very scheduled, I don't even want to say scheduled because I'm not a person that follows the same schedule. It's also something I've been trying to do for a long time, and finally I have to be like, Melissa, you don't follow a schedule, okay? You're a week to week kind of person. I do have a schedule per se, but it's like I may not work out at the same time every day. My dance lessons may not always be at the same time every week, although I would love for them, but my teacher can't have that. So everything's changing during the week all the time. And that is something I was always resisting when I have some control, but I don't have full control over it. So it was just all these areas of pressure and guilt and feeling bad and trying to be something that I'm not all the time. It's exhausting just saying it. So are you trying to be something that you're not? Are you forcing a timeline? I mean, if you think about it, when we try to force a timeline at a meeting somebody, it's like, really, I'm going to try to, like, of all the people in the world, I'm going to try to force meeting the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I'm going to try to make it happen in this moment. One of my other clients was like, okay, I've done really, really great in my professional life, and now I'm ready to focus on relationships. So let's wrap this up. And I'm like, listen to what you just said. It's like, okay, now I'm ready to focus on this. And so let's just find the guy that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with that's going to be in my living room every single day. Can't do it. He'll come when he comes. God spoke worlds into existence. He can find a guy for you, and he will place him just so perfectly in your life at the right time. And when it's not happening according to when you want it, or is it not happening in accordance to the way society has put pressure on you to think it should happen in this time frame? You know what I mean? Like, what do you really want to do? Like, sometimes I'll coach someone that's like, do you really want to date right now? And they're like, actually, I don't. I kind of just want to like be at home and watch Netflix and, twirl my dog's ears and just like be by myself right now. But they feel like, but I can't do that because I'm going to be 35 or I'm going to be 40 or I'm going to be 45 and I don't have time. I've got to meet somebody. I've got to do this stuff. It's like, why? Why are we forcing ourselves? Because we think that when we meet that guy, it's all going to be perfect. No, it's just a dude, right? Like if someone said they met you and by meeting you, everything would fall into place. Doesn't that feel like a lot of pressure on you? Like, oh my gosh, I have to be this person's completion of their life. I have to make it so incredible and so amazing. You're like, dude, I'm struggling over here myself. And that's exactly what I want us to picture, that the guy that we are waiting for that's going to so-called complete the picture. It's like, well, he might complete the picture on Instagram, but does he even belong in your life? Or is he going to throw it off dramatically? And I can tell you many times Gumball Love got derailed because of another guy. And I even had the idea of Gumball Love, but I was still healing. I was still pushing through. And then I would feel like a failure even in that, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm creating Gumball Love and I'm dating another Gumball guy. But it was like, yeah, it's all part of the process, because each time I would date a Gumball guy during this process, I would learn so much. And instead of getting excited about that and be like, yeah, I created this concept, was dating this guy, he fit the same pattern again. Here's what I learned. I should have just been more excited. Should have just been sharing more. But I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't share that because it means I'm failing in front of my girls. And oh my God, they're going to realize I'm not perfect. I so admire Mark Groves, who has the content. It's called Create the Love on Instagram. And he posted a bunch of stuff, posted his girlfriend, and they had this great relationship, and now they broke up. So he's being public about it. And it so proves to me that all the time I was hiding from you guys, I could have just been sharing and we could have gotten to know each other so much better. Because if somebody expects a relationship coach to be perfect and to have perfect relationships, then, they need to, that's just unrealistic. No therapist has a perfect life. No relationship coach has a perfect life. Like, I always used to imagine this is how it was for those people, and I was the screw up. But we're all screw ups. Yet we're all masterpieces. And we're all doing this in sort of a coordinated mess. Maybe it's not a mess at all. Maybe it's exactly a perfect symphony. And we all hear different instruments. We all feel directed in different ways. But if we listen to how we were created and we follow those little inklings, like 2 years ago, I can't believe it's been 2 years already. 2 years ago, I was feeling the inkling. What is this? This is actually 2 years ago. I was in my first week of lessons of ballroom dancing. But I had this feeling, I had the feeling of just salsa lessons. Have you ever thought, I want to learn how to salsa dance? Let me tell you, salsa dancing, to really learn it, will take you years. But you know what? I'm in. And actually, I don't even salsa, I cha-cha now, and cha-cha and rumba, because those are the Latin dances that I really love. I've always been attracted to anything Latin, for one. And I don't know, it's just always been something that I've been drawn to. Yet, I would say that and I would never go explore it. So stupid. Now, so many of my girlfriends are Latina women. And I don't know, I'm so comfortable with Latina women. I just love their energy, their essence, the way they talk. I don't know. It's just I feel so comfortable in that, around those kinds of women. And I guess men too, but most of my network is a lot of Latina women. And now I'm also feeling drawn to, actually, not now, I have been, ever since the movie Ghost, I've wanted to do pottery on a wheel. And in fact, as soon as I get off this podcast, I'm going to book a pottery class. They're always hundreds of dollars. I'm going to spend the hundreds of dollars because I'm sick of thinking about it. There's just these little things that we want to do. But the reason I brought up dance is because dance was a whole journey, a journey of so many lessons and of love, of heartbreak, of confidence, facing my fears, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss again, being challenged and realizing, oh, I thought I was pretty confident until I did this. And then I realized how much fear I had, and then breaking through. So breakthroughs, all of these things happened because of just thinking I was going to take salsa lessons. And so I want you to just feel a sense of like, okay, let's explore. You know, like if you have your health, and if you have your health, you can walk, you can actually go do a workout, like you're ahead of the game, big time. Those of us that are complaining that we don't have time to work out, if you can grip your toes on the floor right now, I just want you to just do that. Just feel your toes, just grip them. Right now I have bare feet and I'm just feeling the wood floor under my feet and I can grip it. And I use that when I'm dancing in Latin because you have to push your toes into the floor to really feel the floor. I have toes. They have not been blown off in a war over in Afghanistan somewhere. Like a soldier that so many soldiers have come home with missing limbs. Think about it. Squeeze your hands, squeeze your toes, feel your feet. Feel your arms, your legs. Like these are the things we have to really channel and go, I have this body. I have this life. Think about where you live. Look out your window right now. What do you see? Do you see trees and grass? You know, I see New York City. I see the FDR. I see cars. I see helicopters. I see seaplanes taking off. I see yachts out here that are in the harbor. I can see the 59th Street Bridge and the East River. I can see kids playing soccer. So my window is like so much going on. I love it though. I love for me, that's like the pulse of the city. I love that I can see a guy walking, kids playing, cars moving, planes taking off. I love that feeling of the hustle. And I love the feeling that I'm nestled into my apartment and cozy with 2 dogs and a cup of coffee and this microphone and books that I love to read. Like I'm telling you, when you keep nurturing this life that you build, I want you to just find the inspiration right now to really put some things in your life that are going to give you that coziness, that richness, that fullness. Because I have all of this and I do not have a husband. And at the same time, I do not tell you to give up on that. I do not tell you that you're just fine without him, because if you desire it, if you feel like you're drawn to this, like I want a significant other, I really believe that we are supposed to be with our significant other, but I believe it's supposed to be in a certain time frame. I believe that when we're ready and if we're willing to trust that we are a masterpiece, trust that we need different things. Have you ever had different plants? Like I have different plants in my apartment and different ones. Like I have a succulent. I can't water the succulent the same as I do the philodendron because I will kill the succulent. It will drown. I will create root rot because it's like a plant you would find in the desert. It holds water in its leaves forever. So if I water it differently, if I water it the same as the other plants, it's not going to stay green and beautiful. And so we have to do different things. Like your best friend is not you. Your cousin, your sister, your mom, you're different people. So when people put pressure on you to be married, maybe you should bring up this conversation and just say, I can see where you're coming from because for you, it happened in a certain timeline. But do you believe that everybody has the same timeline? And then they'll say, well, no. And then you'll have all your intellectual people that leave the room, right? I was reading this list. I'm like, wow, I'm trying to have a lot of intellectual conversations with maybe people that are just caregivers. And if I just talk about caregiving with those people, I can have a much more meaningful discussion. But I'm just saying, like, force those people to have the conversation that's really the one you should be having. And it's a way of saying, hey, I hear you. If people that are putting pressure on you can say, hey, I know that your comment there of what are you doing and are you meeting somebody? I can hear the urgency in your voice. And I know that urgency is because you love me and you want me to be with somebody. And you want me to be with somebody so bad because you are afraid that I'm going to be alone in this world. But I am not alone in this world because I have you and I have friends and I have family and I have an amazing job. And I want you just to look at all the things. You're not alone. None of us are ever alone. If you feel alone, come to New York. There's people everywhere. And so there's groups, there's churches. Like, you're not alone in this world. Because there's a lot of people that are married that feel the most alone of all people because they're married to somebody that really is like a stranger to them. So marriage is not the way to find completeness or companionship. We have to be finding companionship with the right people at the right time. So you tell that person, I hear the sense of urgency and I know it's because you love me. But I want you to take that same feeling of love that you have for me and I know that you care so much. And know that what you're trying to do is pressure some guy to come into my life or you want me to go pursue. So I'm out there searching instead of being in my life. I'm a human being, not a human searching, right? I need to be in my own life. I need to do what I'm here to do. I am a masterpiece that is created by God, and He has created and put things and wired me a certain way. And so I cannot follow everyone else's path. There's a lot of people that are on dating apps that don't want to be there. There's a lot of people going to bars, sitting there, feeling hollow on the inside. This was me. I would go to bars. I wasted so much time. Yet, did I really waste it? Because I think I was doing all these things so I can talk about them today. But I'm telling you, if you get ready to go to a bar and you put your hair and makeup on, and are you even wearing the outfit that you want to wear? Do you even want to be there? Is this the kind of music that you like? This is why I'm so open with the fact that I don't really like live bands. It's okay. But, like I would much prefer a Natalie Merchant or a, Alicia Keys type of concert, or it's got to be somebody I really like. Like I could totally go to a Jennifer Lopez concert or Justin Timberlake. He does an amazing live show. So there are certain ones, yes, Carrie Underwood. Oh my gosh, amazing. Maybe when she dies, she can perform for Monet. That'll be we'd be like, Melissa, you and your Carrie Underwood Monet conversation. But I was mainly bringing that up just because, like, what if they did have a great conversation, or what if they were trying to have a conversation and it was just like, this is totally, it seems weird, right? It seems like an odd pairing. And so I want you to create that, like, maybe the odd pairing would manifest into a great conversation and maybe it wouldn't. But we can look at that and go, that's really weird. That doesn't seem to fit. So we wouldn't force it, right? We wouldn't force those two to try to have a conversation because it seems weird. And so that's why I'm asking you, like, is it weird for you to be on dating apps right now because you don't really want to be there? Is it weird for you that you're going out to a bar and you don't really want to be there? Is it weird for you that you're picking out outfits that don't even feel like they belong to you, yet you're going out because you're forcing yourself to do it in a certain way? Is it weird for you that you're trying to have an online business and you really don't even want to talk to people? Some people are like, I really want an online business, but I just can't handle all those DMs. Like, well, are you getting DMs? No, but I just know, like, that part would really drain me. Like, you don't even have DMs and you're already worn out at the idea. It's like, oh my gosh, I live for those DMs. Like, I'm like, if you don't love talking to your people that are following your content and you're not like excited to hear from them, that's not the right thing for you. So you're doing a thing you think you should when really it's not even connected to you emotionally, spiritually. You're not wired to do it. So you can't force against your wiring. You can't force against the way you are made up, because you will end up in a life that isn't even yours. And then you'll be an imposter. No wonder why some of us have imposter syndrome, because we are an imposter. We're totally fake. And we don't want to be. We just feel like we're forced to be there. And we shouldn't be forced. right? Like, why? So we're like basically in a prison cell and we have the key and we're on the other side and we're sitting there with our head in our hands going, why am I in here? I feel so lost. I feel so alone. We're going to feel the most alone when we're pretending to be something that we're not. All right. So I hope this helps you. And I know this is maybe sort of a lot of times when I'm doing a podcast, I feel like I'm all over the place. But I hope this helps you feel this out more and not feel like I just want you to feel liberated in this process. And if you want to work with me, I'm going to customize this to you. And, you know, it was funny in the academy, in the survey I did with my girls, I said, what's the one thing that you want me to do differently? And they said, more weekly homework. And I really just realized why I couldn't get on board with weekly homework. It's because I didn't want to force this group of women to all do the same thing. And so, you know what? So the next week I said, what do you think you need to be doing this week? And I had each person tell me what their weekly homework is. And that felt so much better to me. And now I realize why, just in this podcast, because if you join the academy, I don't want to put you in a box. I want to give you information. And in fact, this is making me want to even look at the academy again and open this up for even more customization so that you don't feel like, really, I don't put you in a box with the content in the academy. I give you the framework and exactly what happens with the gumball guy, why we're attracted. So that is something that will stay in a framework. But through the process of getting back to you, figuring out who you are, figuring out, is this who I want to be with? Is this not? This is why, you know, it's like funny how now even the Back to You Academy means more to me, because right now I'm seeing that this is the space that I want you to let go of all the rules, let go of all the formulas, let go of all the frameworks that made you feel so constricted, and really see, who am I? Who do I want to be with? Do I want to be in this relationship? Do I want to break up? And even if you want to break up, you will notice I worked with 2 girls. One of them had been in a relationship for 8 years. Actually, the girl that had been in the relationship for 8 years, we worked together over 6 sessions. And at the end, I said, I do not want you to join the academy. Because she had spent 8 years talking about this guy. And we had spent about 3 months talking about this guy. And I told her, I don't want you to talk about him anymore. I want you to depart from me, and I want you to just live your life. Because for her, being in the academy was not going to be the best, would not be the way to serve her. But on the other hand, there was another girl, she'd been in a relationship for a few years, and she was still struggling to get out of that relationship. She decided to break up, but she's still in that process where they're communicating. And it wasn't near as intense as the one that had been in for 8 years. But for her, I recommended this community will benefit you. And she was like, I don't know, Melissa, group coaching, I don't know if I want to do that. And I said, look, if you hate it, we'll just take the money you've invested and we'll keep doing one-on-ones. She was like, okay, great. So I will offer that to you too. If you do the academy and you invest the money and you're like, I want to work with you, but I don't want to do the group coaching, I can just remove you from the academy, which you would lose the online content, unfortunately, or you can pay for the online content and you can do one-on-ones with me. But I'm just saying, like, you can just say, okay, I don't want the academy. I just want one-on-one coaching, and I'll just take your money and we'll apply it toward one-on-one. But in her case, it was like I was writing a prescription, because I knew she needed community, and I knew she needed group coaching as well as individual that we meet once a month. And she just wrote me like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed. Thank you so much for recommending this, because that's what she needed. So I want you to know that even when you do group coaching, you're going to take what you need from it, but I don't tell everybody in the group, this is what we all should be doing, because we all should be doing different things. So just remember that. You are a masterpiece. You are wired specifically. So if you are of a certain age, if you're going to be 30, you're going to be 40, you're going to be 50, you're going to be 60, whatever, 70, 80, I don't know. We have women of all ages. If you feel like I need to lose that 20 pounds, I need to lose that, there might be the guy that's looking for your exact body type, and then you're going to change it because you think you're not skinny enough. I'm telling you, really get connected with who you want to be, really. And this is a process. And that's what I'm here to help you do, is to help you see, who am I? What am I here to do? And am I being constricted by all of these rules and regulations and formulas and scripts and things, top 10 lists of things you shouldn't do and should do? It's so, like, what's that word where you just feel constricted? So constricting. And I want to let you out, because life is so great and it can be lived so fully when you're single. And I think, like, God will just tell you, you'll feel when the person that you're going to meet is coming. Like, I know this person's coming for me, but it feels so differently to me now. Like, now I go, I know that they're coming, but I don't feel like, oh my gosh, when they come into my life, it's going to be so amazing. He's going to, no, I kind of think of it like, I wonder what he's going to be like. Is he going to be like doing a podcast with me? Or is he going to be like a quiet guy he's going to support me regardless, right? Like, I look at some of the guys that my girls have met, and they're just so supportive and so loving in all these different ways. So I just wonder, like, what's he going to be like? What's his job going to be like? What's our lifestyle going to be like? It'll be interesting to see how we contribute to each other, the kind of personality that God chooses for me after all this work and all this journey. And so I know that I'm at this point in my journey, and I want to take you with me on this, is that I feel this sense of God calming me now. Like, okay, you need to be calm. Let's even take it down more. Let's not be working so hard. We're not working to get ourselves so perfect and ready for the guy. That's not what we're doing. We need to be calm. We need to feel secure. We need to feel steady. We need to feel rooted, so that when you do meet somebody, you don't immediately latch on, become dependent. Instead, we're rooted. And just like the plants, we know how much water we need, how much soil we need, that you know what you need. This is so critical that you learn this about yourself. Do you know what you need in order to sustain in your life? So, like, right now I'm realizing, okay, I have a brand new puppy. So being in the 5 a.m. group was counterproductive, and it was pulling me in the wrong direction. So I have to put that on hold, because that was so much stuff. Like, it was just not working in my life at this time. And I was feeling guilty that I wasn't getting up at 5 a.m. yet. Lucy, God love her, but she keeps me up. She wakes up in the middle of the night. And so it's getting better. But at this point, I feel like I need more calm. And for the first time ever, I'm listening to that more than I ever have. And I want to give you the confidence to just listen to yourself and go, what do I need? What are all the things that I'm doing? And is it just pulling me in all these different directions? And I'll tell you, even the exercise of thinking about all the things that are pulling you in different directions and asking yourself, do I really need to do all these things? And who's asking me to do all these things? And calming that down. So I calmed everything down. Like, how I was looking at even like eating right. I was trying so hard to eat right. And finally I was having stomach pain on and off. You know what I realized? I am almost completely lactose intolerant. I went and got an upper endoscopy and learned I cannot break down fat, carbs, or sugar very well. So sad, right? But I can break down protein and vegetables. So I've been vegetarian for 2 years, and I'm thinking I may have to reincorporate meat back into my diet. And I don't know, I'm still trying to decide on that, but like, I can't have any dairy. I can't have any very low sugar. And now breaking down carbohydrates, I'm learning how to. So it's like the old me would try to just take it all on and go so fast. And you know what I realized is that is so stressful. And I was putting so much stress on my body. And we need to just be so kind to ourselves. I'm really learning at a new level what it looks like to be kind to myself and just to relax and just let go and I'm not saying like, and some people are like, go on vacation. I don't have the time to just leave, but just being more relaxed in my mind, just being more calm, just going, okay, all right, so if I get up at 7 a.m., that's okay. And if I get my workout done after work or before, wherever I schedule it, if it gets in there, that's great. I'm going to work on my dance here. I'm going to book my sessions here. You know what I mean? Like doing the things and just letting go of all this added pressure that we create. I realized I had a horrible boss in my life that was extremely demanding, controlling, and was very shaming. And it was me. It's like, gosh, so much freaking pressure. And for what? It wasn't even helping. It was actually making me less productive. So I'm sorry I ran long on this. I feel like I'm a little all over the place. I hope you have been able to stick with me. But let me know if this helps you. And I would love to hear your thoughts. I love getting your emails after a podcast. It just makes me so happy to see how this is applying in your life specifically. I hope this inspires you to customize. I hope this inspires you to look at all the beautiful things that make you who you are, and that you see all the beautiful spices that are in your life. Whatever makes you up, if you are 2 nationalities, 3 nationalities, look at those and explore those. Where'd you come from? Are you drawn to things that maybe come from your heritage that you may not have thought of before, but you've got some DNA coming from different parts of the world? You're supposed to do something with that. You were not an accident. You know, a lot of our parents may not have been planning us to be, you know, like a lot of pregnancies are like, oh, dang, I'm pregnant. I wasn't planning on this, but God was. God was planning on it. And he think of that. I mean, just, you watch a baby made in the womb. It's like this thing is going to become a person. It's just crazy. I always tell women that are pregnant, it's like, it doesn't matter how many times this happens. It's still like, oh my gosh, you have a person in there. And they're going to grow up and like say stuff and do stuff and make things and have arguments and fall in love and, you know, like travel. I mean, it's amazing that we have this ability to create human beings and that we are that creation and that each one of us has this uniqueness about us, from our fingernails to the way our hair looks to the way we speak, the way our voice sounds. You know, I mean, it's like, think of that. How all of us have a different sounding voice. How did God do that? You can literally be across the room and hear a voice that you recognize. Be like, I know that voice. I remember that person. I know that person. That's crazy in and of itself, that we can have inflection, tone that's all so different from each other, that we all have an eyes, nose, and mouths, but we all look so different. And it's so cool. So I want you to just embrace yourself a little bit more and realize that you are perfectly and wonderfully made, as God says in the Bible, that you have a beautiful purpose and that your life is meant far more than just for cute Instagram family photos, that you're supposed to have a rich life full of possibilities, opportunities, and ultimately it's to serve others. Your purpose will serve other people and it will help other people, and you will have so much fun doing it. I found my purpose. It's serving you and helping you figure out who you are. And I remember saying this in 2004 when I worked for the Gallup organization. We were all about finding our strengths. And I said, what if your strength is helping other people find their strengths? Is that a thing? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I should have explored that more. But actually, in 2004, I had this blog and I started it for like a minute and I called it The Date Doctor. Here I was in 2004 creating dating advice. And the one person that read my blog was my sister and my best friend. But I just was like, I thought, what am I doing? And then I stopped and I just should have kept going. But I doubted it because it just seemed weird for me to be doing it at the time. But if you're writing something, you're feeling inspired, go with it. Try it out. Keep going. Have faith in yourself that those little things mean something and they're not just nothings. You are a something. You are a masterpiece. All right, until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more information or to schedule a private coaching session, or better yet, to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballlove.com. If you loved this podcast, I would love for you to share it with your friends. And if you really loved it, a 5-star review is the best compliment you can give. Remember, you are enough, you are right where you should be, and the only thing you have to do is keep going. I'll leave you with my favorite quote by Henry David Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you have imagined. Until next time, I'll see you soon.